Okay, hello. So I'm playing through all versions of Mr. Heli that were released. I'm not including the Wii and Wii U Virtual Console releases because they are just the PC Engine version emulated. Wow, okay, this has thrown me right in at the deep end. So I had an order in mind, and I initially thought about doing them in like order of console release, computer release, I guess. And then I thought about like doing them in order of goodness. So that's basically what I'm going with, and I think the Atari ST version is basically the worst of them. So I'm starting there. Immediate issues are the frame rate is just garbage. So one thing that all of the home computer versions of the game have in common is that because joysticks for these computers only had a single fire button, shooting fires forward and up at the same time, which is different to both the arcade version and the PC Engine version. Yeah, so something else that I was kind of surprised to discover is that the Amiga and ST versions are basically identical. There's even the title screen image that we saw as it was loading is the same in the Amiga version, despite the fact that the Amiga had a higher color palette than the ST. It appears that the Amiga version was either poorly optimized or kind of based on the ST version, which is the wrong way around to do it, because generally the Amiga had a faster kind of graphics processor than the ST did. There are lots of Amiga games that run better than on the ST. Yeah, so getting weapon power-ups as quickly as you can is the name of the game, basically. So the ST version is the one that I played quite a lot as a kid. But I don't think I played it without cheats, because I do remember seeing later parts of the game. I mean, to be fair, this is a lot easier than the arcade version, although I'm doing kind of badly. Yeah, let's get these. Ah, jeez. So I'm kind of hoping that the frame rate issues will become more apparent once we move on to other versions of the game. And there are, among the versions that I'm going to play, some surprises. As you can see, I'm running out of health quite quickly. Oh, I don't have enough. That's garbage. Jeez. Okay, I'm gonna get killed down here, I think. Okay, so something that is obvious here is that getting killed at any point where it respawns you like part way through the level means that you're at a huge disadvantage because you lose all of your power-ups. Ah, jeez. I mean, especially if you get killed during the boss, it means you then have to fight the boss without any power-ups at all. And this section is clearly a nightmare without power-ups. So there's a style of like design here where you're never not having new enemies thrown at you, which I find like really obnoxious by today's standards. But if you compare it to games like Jetpack or any kind of shooter where you're not on rails, basically, like so R-Type has fixed enemy patterns, but any game where like you can stop and you're not constantly moving forward, the fix for that was decided to be just always spawn new enemies. So I find it like exhausting to just constantly have to be aware of like new enemies that are popping up and just always dodging bullets. There's no respite from it. I'm probably not going to get very far on this. No. So one thing the Atari ST version does is give you a lot of lives. I think I'm actually going to stop here because the Amiga version is basically identical, so I'm going to be playing the same game twice, essentially. So hang on, let me set this up. Okay, there we go. It's happening. How do I get out of this? Okay, let's put in-game music on. So the Atari ST version of the game. Sorry, that's really loud. The Atari ST version of the game had music and sound effects by David Whittaker, who knew the Atari ST sound chip fairly well. With the Amiga version, though, we have sampled sound as opposed to pure sound chip. Make of that what you will. So yeah, as you can see, same frame rate issues, same design, the graphics are identical. And it's just not a lot of fun. I'm not even sure that I would say that the music is better. Like, I have a soft spot for the Atari ST sound chip just in general, and it doesn't have that horrible grating sound just there. I think I'll just keep playing until I lose my first life, and then I'll move on to the next computer. Yeah. Kind of wish I'd put sound effects on. This music's getting on my nerves already. Oh, okay, so I was wondering if this would happen. So notice how I've gone from 2 shots to only 1. I wasn't expecting that to happen quite so quickly. My double shot in the ST lasted a lot longer. I'm honestly not sure why that's happening. I know there is like a design philosophy in whole shoot 'em ups where you can purchase power-ups, and they only last for a limited amount of time. So I've been playing the Sega 3D Classics archives on the 3DS recently, and Fantasy Zone on that. Both the original and its sequel have very limited use power-ups, so you pay a lot of money for improved shot power, and then it only lasts for like a minute or so, which is basically enough time to destroy one or two of the enemies, and then you're back to the worst shot. Yeah, so I think we've seen enough here. I am going to switch to the Spectrum. There we go. Let me quit. So I had initially planned to just load all the emulators up and keep them open at the same time, and then let's switch from one to the next. But when I tried that this morning, there were sound issues. Okay, also I couldn't get my joypad working on the Spectrum version, so I'm going to have to use the keys, which oh god, never make any sense to me. So Q and A are move up and down, O and P are left and right, and then space is fire. So right away you'll probably notice that okay, so the graphics are terrible, but also like some of the mechanics are different. So the blocks that you shoot to reveal crystals and power-ups have been kind of altered in the way they work slightly, in that, oh, that was good. They don't get destroyed one at a time, they get destroyed in blocks of 4. Also, the firing power-up works differently. Oh, jeez. In that it's not two shots that stay the same distance apart. It is now they get further away, which makes some things easier. It's also worth pointing out that despite the fact that this runs at a lower, or just as lower frame rate as the ST and Amiga versions, it's actually a lot easier to kind of get an idea of where like enemy shots are going to be, because they move a lot quicker. Like it's actually designed around a lower frame rate, unlike the 16-bit versions, which is nice. So like, despite the fact that I have to use an awful control method, I do actually quite like the specky version. The next version that I'm going to look at is the Amstrad CPC version, which is kind of similar. It has the same kind of differences from the arcade and other computer versions, and these are the only two versions that do differ in that way. Oh, I'm getting proper cramps from this. I'll keep going for a bit, I think. Oh, yeah. This version's quite lenient with its collision detection as well. Oh no. Oh, come on! Apart from that, I guess. Oh, I've got to do this section again. So I'm pretty sure that the Spectrum sound chip, like, whilst not being amazing, could at least handle like, tones and could play music. But yeah, whoever made this version of the game didn't think it was necessary to add music. Oh, I'm doing this again. Okay, gotcha. This downward section is interminable. Oh, God. Click. So I haven't kind of been able to like properly analyze the level design and how it differs. I know it's kind of roughly the same across all versions, but there are subtle differences in like the way that the platforms are laid out. Oh, balls. Okay, I'll keep going. I would like to see if I can get to the first boss on this version of the game. So yeah, another word about the sprites. So because the CPC version and this are so kind of closely linked, I get the feeling that what they did was just sort of like try to recreate the CPC sprites on the Spectrum. So you end up with this kind of horrible dithered look. And a lot of the shapes are just sort of muddy and indistinct. Why would it not give you enough money to get that? So yeah, it is kind of disappointing that they went with this style. What? Oh, I didn't want to do that. Okay, this is sort of horseshit. Yeah, it's throwing way too many enemies at me now. I thought it was lenient at first, but it's clearly not. Okay, I don't see this boss presenting too much of an issue. I mean, it's not even shooting at me for a start. Oh, do I? Yeah, okay. That the start of that level where everything's dark doesn't make a lot of sense in any version of the game, really. Okay, I got full health. Wow, I didn't expect to be playing this for this long. You know what, I might just tank myself. One thing about the Spectrum CPC versions of the game as well is that they're a lot more lenient, or a lot more generous with currency. Yeah, okay, but not with health. Oh no, okay, I've had enough. Sorry. I'm going to pause that and move on to the next one, which is Amstrad CPC. Okay, so this isn't a good start. So it uses the same artwork as the ST and Amiga versions. Not very well optimized for the Amstrad's color palette. I do like that bit of artwork though. Like you can see it on the right side above my head. It was from the the poster for the game. I actually meant to create a save state for this that was slightly closer. Oh, hang on. I keep forgetting that you have to press that. One idiot just sitting there staring at a loading screen. That wasn't actually a loading screen. So straight away, the graphics are a lot nicer than I feel like these graphics are nicer than the Atari ST and Amiga versions of the game. Like they've got those chunky sprites. The colors are really nice. I'll be playing the Commodore 64 version next, and the Amstrad's color palette holds up a lot better than the Commodore's. But as you can see, like it's got the same mechanics differences that the Spectrum version had. It's got the weird shooting. Also, the money counter updates quite slowly for some reason. So I collected that. I should have gone up from 200 to 300, and it takes about 2 seconds for that change to happen. But yeah, so the game is a lot easier than the Spectrum version because I can actually use a controller rather than jank-ass keyboard controls. The music is quite close to the ST version as well. I feel like the Amstrad and the ST had similar Yamaha sound chips. I might be wrong on that. I mean, I think the Spectrum also had a Yamaha sound chip, but a much more limited one. You can hear that the channels are dropping in and out though. Like as I shoot, it overrides the kind of counter melody channel, which is a shame. All those explosions are kind of distracting. But I'm making fairly breezy progress through this version of the game. Just bought whatever that was. Oh, extra missiles. Okay, so 3-way firing. This will make short work of the boss. Oh, almost got hit. It didn't stand a chance. Okay, I've got 3 missiles now. Yeah, so this, I don't know whether I'm just really good at Mr. Heli, but this version seems to be a lot easier than any other versions that I've played previously. I mean, the ST version's not that hard, it's just that... So, what I like about the slower shots of the Spectrum and Amstrad versions are that, like, with the ST and Amiga versions, oh god, it often feels like you're getting hit and there's no way of avoiding, like, a lot of the shots that hit you because you don't have enough time to react to them. Whereas, like, the way the designers kind of compensated for that was to just give you a lot more health. Oh, I'm gonna get killed, aren't I? If I do get killed, I'll leave it here, I think. Oh, I hate this boss. I don't think I've ever got past it. But yeah. So that version is a good one, I believe. Let me just load up the next one, which is Commodore 64. Here we are. So this one has music by Maniacs of Noise, which is Joran Tell, who was responsible for the music for Cybernoid 1 and 2, and just generally a bit of a wizard with the Commodore sound chip. I don't think there's any in-game music, which is kind of a shame. I mean, certainly I can check my SID collection to see if there is anything. Also, yeah, it lets you select the level that you want to play. I'm not sure if that's just because it's a cracked version, like it might be. Oh, hang on. That appears to have crashed. Let's try that again. I'm not convinced this is working. I'm not sure why it was working fine before. Yeah, okay. I'll just try this one more time. It would be a shame not to cover this version of the game, because it is unusual for one specific reason. Okay. No, no. Okay, that's working. Yeah, something weird about my save state, I guess. We have a lot of baby sparrows in the garden at the moment, being all fluffy and not being able to fly very well. It's very cute. Sorry, I've got no small talk for loading screens. It feels like this takes an age, but compared to like an original machine running like from a tape, that's like having to wait a minute or two is mercifully short. So, okay, look at this. This is a version of Mr. Heli on the Commodore 64 running at a smooth 50 frames per second. So to be fair, there are some differences in the Commodore version. Main one is that there are like the crystals that you get are less variable in their sizes. So the $100 crystal looks kind of like the $20 crystal. Oh. So yeah, you saw the first two were 20, the second were 100, or sorry, second was 100, and then there was like a $500 crystal there. So the Commodore version is even more generous than the Amstrad version. It's also hard as nails. Just because it throws so many enemies at you. Oh, jeez. I'm not sure if you have infinite lives, though. I mean, certainly, I can't see a life counter anywhere. Also, yeah, I'm noticing now that I think the types of crystals that drop are randomized. So you can see that I don't have enough money to get that first power-up, which is a bit of a pain. Oh, okay. But on the other hand, I now have a huge amount of money, and I can just buy all of this, I believe. Okay, so I got the double shots. Ah! Okay, I think it is just going to keep respawning me indefinitely. I do like this version, despite the fact that the colour palette is more washed out than any of the others, really. Kind of a limitation of the Commodore 64. The CPC version in particular has the nicest colours, I think. And I always thought it looked really nice. I remember seeing like screenshots of the various different versions of the game in magazines and stuff, and thinking, wow, CPC version's impressive. The crystals sort of behave weirdly here as well, because they don't have any collision with the blocks. so they don't sit on top of the destructible blocks. They just fall down to the bottom. Okay. Okay. I really need some health. That power up, the kind of weird catfish, just destroys all blocks on the screen, so that's not of any use. Okay, so I think I've played enough of this. But yeah, kind of a good one. Okay, so next is the PC Engine. The PC Engine had a square display, so this is being stretched slightly, which is why the pixels look a bit weird in places. However, it is pretty much arcade perfect. Oh, right, I was wondering why it was moving without me doing anything. So this has two modes, normal mode and arcade mode. You'll see what arcade mode is when I play the arcade version next. Basically, 3 hits will kill you, and it's just nails. However, this version is kind of balanced, which kind of like indicates that, or like the general like player hostility of arcade games. So I forgot that you have separate buttons for shooting forwards and shooting up. But yeah, like the just the general arcade design is kind of transparently intended to get as much money out of you as possible by just making things really hard. And the developers of the PC Engine version kind of rightly realized that no one wants to play a version where you get killed quite so frequently. So yeah, as with the Commodore version, this is kind of running in a smooth, I guess this is 60 frames per second. It'll be NTSC version. But the level design here is identical to the arcade version, and mechanically it's basically the same as well. I think there are differences in some of the graphics, but otherwise it's very faithful. Oh yeah, also with the 8-bit and 16-bit home computer versions, the first kind of like missile power-up that you get gives you just 1 extra missile, whereas with the PC Engine and arcade versions you get 3, which is nice. So I'm gonna get this. No. Ow, what? Oh, okay, so here again, I've lost my... Oh, I wonder if that's the ghost helis. They take your power-ups away. Okay. So, yeah, never mind what I said earlier about time-limited power-ups. It's not that at all. But yeah, that is annoying, actually. No one is watching. I didn't think Mr. Heli was going to be the game that would make me a Twitch star. Ah, piss. Okay, well, that's an improvement. So you can see this version's a lot harder than the Spectrum and CPC versions. Oh, I'm gonna get killed, aren't I? Just scraped through there. So I figure with the the PC Engine version, I'll just try and get as far as I can because I'm not going to get very far in the arcade version. It's much too hard. This kind of comparison video is something that I would like to do quite more. I don't know if it's worth doing something like Space Harrier or Outrun, or maybe they're a bit too obvious. I kind of chose Mr. Heli just because it was sort of an important game for me growing up. Oh no, 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 no. No, no, no! Oh, I had three missile power-ups. I'm gonna get that. I think that's a waste of money. I don't need it. Oh, jeez. Okay. Yeah, so this whole section is very stingy with power-ups. Considering how difficult this boss is, it only gives you one if you get killed. I mean, it's a decent power-up. Oh, what? Okay, I have beat this boss before. And I've beaten it now. So what's this level then? Oh no. Ah, yes. Yeah, I was playing this, the PC Engine version of the game on my 3DS, and I did get this far. Oh, auto-scrolling levels can get stuffed though. No! I need all the power-ups I can get. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh, why did I do that? Okay, good. Oh, well. I kind of wish I'd waited there. That's basically screwed it. Screwed this playthrough up. Okay. So that's slightly less far than I've got before. Okay. What's next? So arcade version is next. How do I pause this? There we go. Okay. So this is basically the ultimate version of the game, I guess. Well, actually, considering that the PC engine is balanced better, I would be inclined to say that that's the ultimate version. This just generally looks nicer than all of the others. Interesting fact about Mr. Heli is that he's one of the unlockable ships in the PlayStation 2 game R-Type Final, which I played for quite a long time trying to unlock him. I think I did eventually, but I didn't find it very fun. I'm kind of tempted to go back to it. So the absolute key to this version of the game is to not ever get hit by anything, ever. So you can have missile power-ups or bomb power-ups, but not both. To be fair, I think there are settings in the arcade version that let you have more health, because like you can only take 3 hits at the moment, but it's got all of those blocks on the health bar. Interesting fact about that crystal as well is that that large crystal on the PC Engine version is a different sprite. Like they couldn't make a massive crystal sprite. So they just kind of like shoved a load of small crystals together. Jeez. Okay. I got this. Oh, I took damage somehow. So the health power-ups only like restore 1 bit of damage as well. So if I took 2 bits of damage and I got a health power-up, then it would only bring me back up to having like 2/3 of my health. No. This is ridiculous. Okay. Oh, the level 2 power-ups cost more money in the arcade version. I'd forgotten about that. Piss. Oh, that's really annoying. Yeah, maybe I should have had a play around in the settings for the arcade version to see if I can make it easier. Whatever. I don't think anyone wants to see me play more Mr. Heli at this point. Oh, come on, bastard. Why are there so many of these stupid shooty pricks? I'm annoyed that I lost my level 2 missile power-up. I still do really like this version though. Just generally a lot smoother, and it's hard, but it's hard in a way that I've played this game so many times over my life that I'm just sort of familiar with its quirks now. I don't really find it frustrating in the way that a lot of overly hard arcade shoot 'em ups are. Shit. That was a bit frustrating. Ow. Annoying. I don't think I'm gonna beat this guy. I don't have double shots. Okay. I'll take that victory. Yeah, so I don't really know what the intent behind making that first section dark was. Like, is it supposed to be like, ooh, spooky, what's the game gonna throw at me now? But then, like it just goes back to normal once you've destroyed that thing. Ugh. Okay. Well, I'm going to call it there because I've been playing for about an hour. So, thanks for joining, I guess. My name has been Big Dave. Not Davey. Okay. Cheers for watching. Bye.